Things. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Campfire Passport podcast. We're going to go over a really fun main topic today, and I'm going to spoil it before we even get into it. I'm going to say that we're going to go over our 5 best overlanding rigs for under $5,000. So that is not inclusive of your family, Mike or Jesse. It's not inclusive of your modifications, and we also don't require you to cite an example, but if you want to do that, that's okay too. We're just going to go over all of these things, and we're going to prove why our selection is better than everybody else's. And then beyond that, we're not going to talk about a lot of other things, but that's okay. It takes up a ton of time. It's a lot of fun. Colin raises his voice at everybody else at least twice. So you know it's a good podcast when Dad comes out like that. So beyond that, Colin, you got anything beyond like, comment, and subscribe and buy all of our awesome merch?
No, you covered it wonderfully once again. So let's just get into it.
So before we do our main topic, because we have a way that we do things a lot of times and it may or may not work out, is there anything else going on that anybody wants to talk about? Is there any new stuff? I think one thing that Mike wants to talk about, he should talk about next.
Oh, do you know what it is, or is I going to talk about something you just segued really well?
I might. I had a Mike-specific thing, so...
I'm very proud
We'll
of
see
you.
if you guys line up here.
Yeah.
Here we go. So with my back surgery, I want to give a shout out to the other Colin, because he jumped at the chance to come over and help me measure for a drive shaft and put some flanges on. He ugga-dugged one too many ugga-duggas, and I think my crushed sleeve in my front axle's a little bit smaller, because he's like, how far on do you want this to go? And it went, brrr. And I was like, that's probably enough. But we measured for it, so now I have my drive shaft at new house, and it's getting shortened so that it'll fit correctly. And it drives fine. I'll pull the front cover off and make sure nothing's like impacting anything, but it was always kind of a loose gear set anyway, so maybe it got better. Yeah, shout out to him. He came over, he even said, he's like, I'm your least mechanically inclined friend. This seemed like something I could do, and so I jumped at this one so that when you ask somebody for something hard, I don't have to feel bad about saying no. And I was like, that's great. That's great.
So I should have told you this before he came over to help you, but one thing that when Colin and I worked together, we found about Colin is that he loves an impact, and he loves to use an impact on a nylock stainless bolt, which is a recipe for disaster. We cut at least, I'm going to say 1, but I think it was 2 sets of Vision X lights off of display racks because he seized them. And he couldn't figure out why. And every time you just go... Sorry, Colin.
Well,
but
it doesn't have... It had some movement in it before. It has less now. It might have been better. It might have made it better. But everything feels good. So that's good. And I'm going from that weird, constant velocity joint to a real dual sweater joint and a stronger double cardigan.
Oh, I see.
It's not a pullover.
I know. But yeah,
it's not a pullover.
It's a 2-sweater joint.
Thanks for noticing.
No, it's got a zipper. So I'm stoked because that'll be ready. I can go snow wheeling. I do have to take the rear off, and I've been looking around. I can probably just take it down to new house and have them balance it and be okay. But also, there's a ton of them for sale for pretty cheap to get just a stock rear drive shaft also. So the rear's long enough I don't have to have anything upgraded on it.
What's wrong with it?
I hit it really hard against a rock.
Oh, I've done that. Been there.
So it's bent. Probably on my Jeep, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that might be my fault. I'm good at doing that. Yeah.
So I think that's what the vibe is.
I gotta say, this is useless information no one cares about, but I recently got a new front drive line because I needed one that was smaller diameter for the swap, which I talked about on the podcast. Got a double sweatshirt. Is that what you just called it?
Sweater.
Cardigan?
Dual sweater.
It's a cardigan.
Dual sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to try to pronounce the word because now that you've said that 3 times, I won't be able to do it, and then I'm going to be super embarrassed.
Well, now we're just going to hold out for you to say
that kind of joint. I got that kind of joint.
And
now, what kind of double is it?
I don't know. A double U joint. Anyways, that double U joint that I've got, every Land Cruiser nerd in the world, shout out to them, says that you've got to put one of those on there when you lift your vehicle over 1.5 inches or whatever it is, 2 inches. And I never did because I'm cheap and I don't do that kind of thing unless I absolutely have to. And I've always had a little vibration, like, 60 miles an hour, turning a little bit. Got a vibration. Not crazy, but it's something. And I thought, maybe this nice new fancy driveline that I had to buy will help that. No change. Not a change at all. So I've got a new rear from a couple of years ago that didn't change it, a new front that didn't change it. So I don't know. It just vibrates. That's just what it does. So.
Is it maybe that bent axle housing that keeps leaking on you? Or?
I can't see how that would actually make a vibration, but you never know. It's possible.
The other thing about me that just happened is I got rear-ended the morning I was going in for back surgery by a very nice young lady in a Jeep Cherokee, but the new kind that's not really a Cherokee.
I didn't know it was a Jeep on Jeep crime.
Yeah. And I had my receiver in because I had just towed something like, a week ago, and I was too lazy to take the receiver out. It was when I got the little pit bike. And so I had this huge receiver hanging down and then that big dumb bumper, and she ran into the back of the Jeep and just mangled the front of her car. It was leaking fluid from multiple things. There was coolant, there was oil. And she drove it down to the Fred Meyers and pulled off and was apologizing to me and checking on me and like, is your neck hurt? Is your back hurt? And I was like, oh, I'm going in for surgery today anyways. If there's anything else wrong, they'll just take care of it then. And she said, what? Really? And I was like, yes, but also I'm kidding. Like, I'm making light of, she was really sad. But I told her, don't worry about it. You broke my tire carrier. Give me a couple $100. Don't worry about your insurance. I don't want this to go on your record. It's not going to bother me any. We're going to be fine. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she texts me later, my dad's an insurance agent, and he says we have to go through insurance. And I said, okay. I brought it down to the body shop, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be about $2,200. And I said, okay. And they approved $1,900 of it, and so I got a check coming to me for $1,900 in Jeep parts.
There you go. Earmarked. I like it.
Yeah. Did it mangle your exhaust tips at all, hopefully?
No, you know what? I did that already. They're both flattened pretty solidly. And
are they like Chevy bow ties now?
Almost, yeah.
Damn.
And the drone is gone. The drone that I had on the highway, Haley and I complained about it over and over again on that long trip to Hawaii, and it's gone. That was great after that trip. Like, we hit it on something else, and we're good. So
that's great.
Yeah, so I got sliders in the garage already because I found some nice takeoffs from the Hard Rock Wrangler edition things. Yeah. And then I'm going to build a swing away tire carrier, and then I think buy a hard top, and then just fix the stuff that's broken, and that'll be all my money.
What else is broken?
Oh, I've got another set of ball joints. So the other side ball joints went bad. I've got some steering issues that I should replace. My steering stabilizer, I broke the valve off, so it's no longer nitrogen charged. Mm-hmm. I broke the cross member for the transfer case. I need to replace that with something stronger. That kind of stuff.
Got it. Self-inflicted.
I might get a truss kit. Yeah.
Cool. Well, while we're thinking about what you're going to spend your $2,000 on, wow. I think that's a good segue into our main topic.
Wow.
Which is... Actually, you know what? I don't want to do it. I don't want to give I don't want to be the person that does it. I want Colin to do this because it's his idea, and he did such a good idea. Before you do it, though, I want to say we've been thinking about ideas to spice up what we're talking about a little bit, so we're not just talking about ourselves all the time. And Colin came up with some of the original ideas because he is the captain of the ship here, and we appreciate his ideas, so I wanted to have him do it. I want him to tell us the premise of the topic.
Okay.
And if anybody has any other good topics, put them in the comments.
Or send them to secretrsvp@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Good God. All right. So the premise here is, as we are all pretty well-rounded in our vehicle knowledge base, some of us have a little more hands-on experience with other platforms than others, namely Mike and myself. But
Mike's got a lot of experience.
yeah. But I thought it might be fun to have a group of us get together and basically come up with a list of our top 5 overland, platform that will cost you less than $5,000 to get into. Now we're not talking full build or anything like that. There's no requirements as far as, how many people or how many dogs need to fit in it. It's just whatever you think is a good platform that you can readily find available at $5,000 or less. And from there, I'll say the way I would like to do it format-wise is I think that we should just do round table and each person give their 5, not all 5 as in their number 5, and their reasoning why. There can be a little bit of discussion, and the next person will give their 5, and so on, and then we'll just work our way up the list. And we're not starting at 1 like Sean wanted to start, which makes no sense at all to me. We're starting at 5.
Whatever.
Are we supposed to have 5 vehicles prepared?
That's what the text said.
Mike, you don't have to give examples.
I have them pulled up.
I know you do. I know you do.
Come on.
I already know what you've picked.
You've got pictures.
I just showed you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
Okay,
half the
so,
reason I know. The other half is because I know you.
What do we want? We want a roulette. Who's going first?
Yeah, you're driving the ship. Pick.
I'm driving the ship. Oh shit. Okay. Well, that's gonna take me a minute. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm gonna go first. So my number 5 is Land Rover Discovery. And I will say
One or two.
To everybody.
I don't care if it's 1 or 2, because if you want something that's a little bit more of a project, you can get a 1, because it's going to take some more tinkering. And they're slightly smaller. They're a little bit shorter, but man, those things wheel great. They've got the center locker. They're solid axles. They're coilovers. They've got the tire carrier on the rear door, so you don't have to have a swing out necessarily right off the bat. And they look cool. They're just a cool platform. Or you could do a Disco 2 if you want to spend up in that 5 range, a little closer to 5, and you'll get a pretty decent one. And hopefully you get a not SE7, because where those jump seats are in the non 7-seaters, they're nice little storage bins, and they work great. I loved mine. But yeah, they aren't, the Disco 2s don't necessarily flex as well as the 1s, because they switch to a Watts link in the back and change some stuff, but overall they're probably slightly better for just the general overlander that doesn't want to work on it as much, and avoid a 2002 or 2003 because those will need a transfer case swap if you want a center locker. The 04s.
Oh, how do you know that?
Oh, because that's what I had. The 04s are probably going to be more than $5,000 though, because everybody knows what they have when they have an 04, because that's when they put the center locker back in them. But the 99s and 2001s, they've got the center locker but no linkage. You just have to add the linkage. So there's my kind of reasoning. Anybody can shoot it down if they want because it's a Land Rover product, but that's fine.
I mean, that's the first problem.
Reliable car in the world.
I was going to say, I almost put a Disco 2 on my list.
It's a good choice.
It's a fantastic choice, and I don't disagree with you at all.
They're gorgeous. And everybody knows between the four of us that you can wheel the hell out of it because we've seen it happen with Colin.
Yeah.
But also, man, it's a Disco and
yeah. Last I
seems
checked,
like
though,
a great
remember
candidate for.
Mine didn't have really any issues. I believe it was Luke's Jeep that broke down in 2 ways on our Dunes trip, where I had 0 issues. So,
The
it never left me
least
stranded.
reliable vehicle in the world is the most reliable vehicle in the world.
I will say, of all the vehicles that I've ever seen in a shop with head gasket issues, I think most of them had it circled with a
like with a T in it because they were 3-liter Toyota V6s.
No, I haven't seen those in the shop lately.
Oh,
but I remember didn't Zane have a Disco that he blew the head gaskets on twice?
I hope Zane listens. He might. I don't know. I think that was his Range Rover Classic.
I know he had the Classic.
And that's because those things have that Buick V8 that has the casting that's like 65 years old when at casting.
But so do the Discos.
But
just so you're aware, Sean. They're all the Buick casting.
Okay. Yep. So even worse.
Yeah. So then maybe not the same car, but Zane blew that same motor twice. I think it was like months apart, blew head gasket.
Yeah.
It's a simple maintenance item.
V8 swap it.
Yeah. When it comes to a Land Rover, it's a maintenance item, and if you don't do it precisely right, it'll happen again in a very short amount of time. But the bright side of that
similar
is
to the Subaru Boxer motor.
Right, but is actually a decent vehicle. The bright side of that is you can come across some really, really clean, well taken care of Discos that have a head gasket needing done for very cheap, like well under the $5,000 range. And what that means is now you have money for an LS swap, and there are kits to do it. So why not?
I mean, honestly, they're so good looking.
Yeah.
They're perfect looking. They've got a great wheelbase. They're the perfect platform for an LS and a set of 1-ton axles. Bingo.
Yeah.
It's great.
Isn't that guy, Pizza on Fries?
Yeah. Local-ish guy.
Yeah.
And then
that's like his MO. It's freaking wonderful.
The Lifestyle Nate did one too.
I was gonna say, that guy did it too.
Right.
I haven't actually seen anything on
Nate doesn't have a LS swap. That's the stock motor in that, but he does have tons.
Oh, sorry,
Just tons.
I was talking tons.
Yeah. But the
because it hasn't exploded yet.
The guy that Mike is talking about, that was a Range Rover Classic that he had, his crawler, that is for sale now. But he cut it down so that it was like the 2-door versions, which were not available here.
Yeah.
And that had the stock V8 in it for a long time, and then he finally did do an LS in it. And then the new one that he has now, that does not have tons. That has the stock engine as well. That's just a Range Rover Classic with nothing else other than lift and big tires. Yeah.
I gotta say, I hope your number 4 is a Range Rover Classic, because as much as I think Discos are cool, Range Rover Classics are so much cooler.
Can you get there? I don't think you could get one for under $5,000.
I think you can. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be a good one, but none of them are good. So
yeah,
I guess.
I
just
think
immediately put it out of my mind.
yeah,
Few of them are
maybe
good.
I should put a precursor for you guys. Is my list is all vehicles that are the under $5,000 that I would look at and say I would buy that. Not I would look at and say, well, it's a piece of
I would
shit,
build
but
that.
it's under $5,000. It's all like ones that you would be interested in actually owning right then and there, the way it sits.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah,
So yes,
mine
Jesse,
was
you're
based
right.
on,
Range Rover
like,
Classic
you could-
is out.
Yeah, I was thinking
So-
that it's $5,000 that you could drive away from the sale, throw your gear in it, and go camping.
Right. Yeah.
Now, in my head, I was looking at it like $5,000, and you could take it. So if it was a $2,500 car, you could put the other $3,000 into it, and it would be enough, right? If it had a blown head gasket, like a lot of our discos would, or things like that, you could get to driving it at $5,000. That's the way I did it. Anyway,
Well, I
Right.
think you should
Okay,
give us
so
your
with
five.
that,
Your
why don't you go
your
for
number
our
5
5,
then.
easy. Number 5, everybody knows what I'm a very big proponent, but the XJs have started to come back down in price. There are tons and tons and tons of XJs now under $5,000. They had a weird little heyday where everybody wanted like $9,500 for them, and it was weird, and I felt super uncomfortable. I bought a couple broken ones and sold them to make good money because XJs should never cost more than $3,000, and if they do, they better have a reason. So my number 5 is a '99 Cherokee. It's $4,800, but it's already got a lift. It's already on 35s. It's already got a winch. It's already got a roof basket.
We
It's
didn't need to
it's got
find
everything.
examples. It's just
Oh, I did.
But he did.
it's just in general. I'm glad that you researched.
not-
That's great. But
I'm citing my sources. I'm citing my sources.
Oh my
Thank
god.
you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
And it's $4,800. It's only been on for 5 days, so you'd probably get it for $4,500 tops. But yeah, you can get it's got everything. It's ready to go for wheeling and playing around in. But that's the beauty of it. It's got a 4-liter that'll run forever, and if it doesn't, you just put one piston in it because that's all it ever really needs at a time. And you can work on it in the garage, and it's never broken so much that you can't go home in it. And even if it is, you could limp
should-
it somewhere.
you should ask Tyson
and just
about
get it
that.
fixed. I don't know if you remember, Sean, but I had it down to 27 minutes. I could replace an axle shaft.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah, on the side of the road in the snow. So
Yeah.
I could do it in 27 minutes on the side of the road in the snow. But they're just so easy to work on. And I had, like, the beauty of the Cherokee is a Ford 8.8 swaps into the back, and it's the right width. So you can get a real strong rear axle for $600, including the truss kit. The front axle is a high pinion Dana 30 at that point. And those are plenty strong as long as you upgrade to chromoly shafts. Or if you don't do that and you're running 35s, you just keep shafts in there that are already on the unit bearing, and it's like no problem to swap them out. Everything's cheap, and there's just enough room that you don't feel like you're trapped. But that's my, yeah.
I think the
that's
only
my
surprise
number 5.
here is that that's not number 1.
yeah,
was
that
gonna say-
that came in way lower than I thought it was.
I cannot wait to hear what number 3 is,
Where are we going?
And it
Man,
gets
let
where are we going
alone
from here?
1.
I got bored, man. Here's the thing.
Damn.
I've had Cherokees before already, and now I got a JK. I'm the most boring vehicle guy. I want something to spice it up a little bit, you know?
Oh,
Something a little
God.
more exciting.
Wow.
Can I guess
Okay.
the rest of your list right now?
Go
No.
for it.
I know 3 of them right now. But okay.
Name 'em right now?
I know 2, but probably 3. All right. Let's just skate right past that and go to Jesse.
Number 5, second. Number 5 is a second-gen Montero. I think that they
Excellent.
are a fantastic platform.
Yeah.
They have a great size for wheeling. They have enough room that obviously you can pack an entire family and a small dog in it. We know that for sure.
Short dog. yeah.
Medium. Solid medium.
Medium.
It's a medium dog for
Medium
sure. Yeah.
God,
Short, but
don't do him
Yeah.
like that.
not
That's
tall.
he's a
definitely.
Elroy was a heavy medium even.
That's right.
Yeah. He was a big
a
boy.
hefty
He was a
boy.
heavy medium. You can get that locker in the rear.
Yeah.
It seemed so easy to do a pretty quick lift on it that performed well and get 35s on it. It's just like that. Boom, done. Kickers, you got that sweet little Japanese motor in it, and you know it's going to run forever. Who cares?
Might have a little lifter tick, but
it just will.
Throw some Lucas in it.
Whatever.
So, I think
One valve out of 24.
solid number 5 is a Montero. You can easily second gen Montero. Personally, I'd love a first gen, but if we're thinking,
Dodge Raider.
actual competitive,
To me, the first gen Montero is the perfect thing to put on a Toyota chassis. But
Yep.
other than that, I love
they're
it.
just such good. The first gen is so good looking.
Oh, they're cool.
God, it's classic.
I'd be interesting to know why
second gen
you think it
is
should go
just-
on a Toyota chassis, though.
It just seems easier.
don't-
Like, I know
that
all the
doesn't
stuff's
track.
there, and I would just put. It would make more sense to not do that, but like in my head, it just looks right to just be like, you know what? I've got this Jesse's crawler. I'll just yard the body off and put a Montero on there, and we're good to go.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's cheaper than a 4Runner. So that should be the Montero slogan. It's cheaper than a 4Runner.
cheaper than a 4Runner.
Hey, don't tell everybody that.
Yeah, we're trying to keep those prices low still.
The only downside I could think
Yeah, exactly.
The only downside I can think to the Montero is that it's got chicken wings.
That's why.
It's torsion
a lot-
bars
there's
also
a few
is
of
what
these
it
things
is.
on my list, and it's torsion bars. So,
Yeah.
but this is overlanding. This is not crawling. This is not heavy wheeling.
Yep.
You'll find comfort. You'll find performance, especially with the rear locker. You got 3-wheel drive. You're going to do a lot.
Where's your specific example? I'd like to know.
Yeah, and what
Cite
does
my
it cost?
source. Excuse me. Get on Craigslist fast.
Yeah. Type Montero, see results.
See results, yes.
Oh, man.
Okay, that leaves you,
Well,
Sean.
mine, I thought that now I'm going to build it up and it's not going to be as exciting. But, to me, I wanted to do 5 last because it was, the one that I was the proudest of in a ironic, funny way. But the more I thought about it, the more we talked about this, the more that I actually do kind of want one of these. So I think it fits. I think it still plays. And I bunched 2 vehicles that are exactly the same together. And I might get a little pushback because they're not exactly the same, but they're exactly the same, right? And it's the Touareg and Cayenne of the first generation.
Oh,
So-
God.
Get your butthole whacked.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Everybody's going to hate it. But
What?
this is coming. Now, Colin is mad, but Colin had
That is terrible.
a supercharged Range Rover that is no different, if we're honest, because independent front and rear, lockers, lots of power, lots of luxury, and a lot of problems, all bunched up into one.
How many problems
for
did my
under
Range Rover have?
$5,000. Except,
Please,
you paid
elaborate.
extra.
Please
You
elaborate.
paid
where I had
extra for the Range Rover because it doesn't have problems like
there it is.
does.
Okay, there we are. That's right.
But I mean, honestly, you can get
Also,
a lot
you
of vehicle
don't look
for
like a fucking
$2,500
driving it.
Oh man, I don't hate them. That's just all there is. Now, I'm not gonna say here's the thing, and I've been,
Every Subaru
for
driver
me,
is going to be like,
I'm-
"Oh, he's right. We should get one of those next."
good for them. All 3 of them should buy them. I think they're great. I'm not like. We know a person that is talking about doing 1-ton swap and all this. I'm no interest in anything like that. My interest is boring ass 33s, luxury, a rooftop tent, whatever. It to me, it's the perfect, really terrible decision when it comes to off road.
Really
and
terrible decision.
I will say, here's the thing about them that is like your Range Rover that puts them in the next level compared to an X5. And it's not the reliability because they're way less reliable than an X5, but it's the ability to get low range in a locker in a turbo. That's pretty cool. You can get a Cayenne S or a Cayenne Turbo with a rear locker with selectable center and regular low range. So even though it's air suspension, even though it's god awful electronics, it does make a ton of traction and a ton of power, and I bet it'd be a lot of fun.
I will say it's always cool to look at those when they're on a tow truck, so you can see kind of the skids underneath.
How tall they get?
Because all of them are broken. God, I just respect you.
I was unaware that the Porsches would be under 5, but also
they're significantly under 5, by the way.
Wow.
Now turbos are not. Turbos,
Okay.
you can buy like a bad turbo for $6,500 or so, but a regular Cayenne S V8, $5,000 all day long. In fact, if you could push up to like an 08, like the start of the second gen for both the Touareg and the Cayenne for 5. You got to find a bad one. You got to find one with high miles, but it's definitely doable. And that's the one that you're going to beat the hell out of and be fine with. So I think it makes sense. I think it's good. I like, seriously, I've looked
an
at
interesting
these
choice,
many
that's for
times,
sure.
by the way.
Who's next? Let's talk about anything else.
I implore you to go get one.
I want to so bad, but
Then
you know.
just do it.
Thanks,
If
Jesse.
you go get one of those, I'll go get the one on my list that you know that I'm going to have on my list.
So what does it take in the Touaregs
My
to
blood
get the lockers? Because I thought that was like the
there's a
Porsche
ton
thing
of
was that you get the lockers if you got the turbos or whatever.
No, you can get lockers on all of them. It's really uncommon to find them on V6s. I'm gonna say caveat. I'm not 150% certain about that, but I'm like 99% sure you can still find a V6 with a locker. Although it's more likely you would. And V6 is VR6, by the way, for all of us Volkswagen nerds. It's not a VR or a V. It is a 15 degree, but whatever. More common than anything, you're going to find an air suspension equipped 4.2 V8 with a rear locker, which, you know, if you find one for, to Mike's point, like $3,500 or whatever, and then you buy a Eurowise lift coilover conversion, you're fine. You're in. You know, like you can put 33s on it, and it's great. I think it'd be good. Is it unreliable? Sorta. But have Colin, you and I owned very unreliable German vehicles? Absolutely. I had a C5 S6, so like
You weren't overlanding
that's a
in
Touareg.
that. You weren't going to
It's a Touareg
remote
with an
areas for
Audi.
it to break down.
I mean, Leavenworth's semi-remote. It's just on the pavement.
Shit, like
All right,
I found
Colin.
an 04. I found an 04
See?
for
Damn.
$4,000.
Look at that thing.
He's right.
That's Porsche.
God damn.
As the V8.
200,000 miles on the V8. Yeah.
Hey, man, that 4.2 architecture, which is the 4.5 is kind of based on, that's good. Like, they're good for 200,000 miles. The rest of the car, give or
14
take.
miles per
Give or
gallon
take.
combined.
Oh, let me show you my fuel economy
Yeah,
recently.
I'll bet you that drops pretty
mine's not
drastically
good either,
with
and I have
tires
a-
too.
Oh, God,
And
yeah.
a rooftop tent.
Yeah.
All right,
7.
Colin.
Okay.
What's your next bad idea?
My number 4.
What do you got
and-
that's so much better?
My number 4. Well, first the disco. That would have been better choice, honestly. But my number 4 is a Montero Sport. So, if you're looking for something that is like Forerunner size, but don't want to spend Toyota money, you get a Montero Sport. The early ones, so 99 and earlier, those ones, unfortunately, they're a leaf spring in the rear with torsion front, but if you get the right one, those had a lockable rear diff, which is pretty awesome. And honestly, I think they look better than the late ones. But the late ones are coil sprung in the rear and share a ton of similarities with the full-size Monteros. You can get, they've got stock gears that are 463s, I believe. They're a lot tougher built truck than you'd expect. Also, very common, have 3-spoke factory wheels, which is perfect. 3 spokes
That's good.
on
That's
90s
worth it
vehicles is the best. Love it. So that's my
They're also
number 4.
super cheap, right?
Oh yeah, sports are like those are like the last Montero that is completely forgotten about.
Yeah, they're like the half the price or less under budget. So you're getting a sport plus whatever you want.
Oh yeah, yeah. You could.
That makes sense.
That one is the option where you could find a really nice one for like less than $2,000, and then have all that $3,000 to just dump into it and do tires and a lift and a rack and your tent and be solid. It would be very, very good.
Man, I'm realizing I went way not specific enough, so this is going to be fun.
I went very
Mike,
specific.
on the other
Mine's
hand,
not specific either.
has gotten as specific as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm curious
I did.
Okay, let's
what the
hear
next
it. Let's
example
Mike.
that he's bookmarked is off of Facebook Marketplace.
Who do you want to guess? Let's go.
No,
him in.
we're not guessing.
It's got to be number 4.
We're not guessing. Just
Feels like I shouldn't guess
because
about
the
it.
last part we're guessing. Would you please just give
All
us
right.
number 4?
Please.
A Tahoe.
Oh God.
Okay.
An OBS top?
I saw that.
God.
So
They're not OBS,
torsion
okay,
bars
come
and
on.
leaves.
Get that. Move it.
Here's
Come
the thing,
on.
right?
Flip that around.
Here's the thing: the Z71 came with it's $3,500. Has a Chevy 350. Has a
What is-
Z71 package.
Which is different
And-
from the regular one. How?
It's got a
It's got
gov
the
lock in
sticker?
rear. No, it's got a gov lock in the rear.
Ooh, the grenade locker.
the
That's what they
Z71
need.
It has that.
only thing that
It has
matters-
that. Has that bad locker in it.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
has a rear locker of some sort. They're big. They've got plenty of room. You can put 35s on them with cutting a bunch of stuff. They'll break a bunch of things if you do that. So you do 33s instead, and you are just fine to go play and enjoy it. We're overlanding. We're not talking about wheeling. We're not talking about crawling. And it's got arguably for
Oh,
the
no. We could argue
2000
this.
the 99 2000 range, if you get one of those, which is pretty common, they're the newer generation interiors. So you get like the boxier, better
Wow,
looking,
even more
Tahoe
boring.
with the nicer, newer interior.
I just
It'll work.
Mike.
I don't see it. It's 8 miles to the gallon is not overland friendly. Like that is what cuts those completely out. Same with like Broncos and shit like that.
It's getting 8 quarts of
Way better mileage.
It gets
Economy
better
and
fuel
range are
economy.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got a big ass tank.
It
yeah.
doesn't matter if
It's
you
got
can
a
have
40-gallon tank.
it doesn't have a 40-gallon tank for one, and for two,
They do
8
have a big tank.
8
though.
miles to
Still
the
a
gallon
big tank.
still is not going to last you that long. You're going to be hitting every
So-
fuel station and filling up the entire
I feel like
time.
We already do.
I feel like I have to
It has
say
a
this.
26-gallon tank.
Okay, so
Okay.
I mean I have a 25-gallon tank, so
My
and
Range Rover
similar
had a
mileage.
27-gallon
A lot of
tank
them will
and
have
got
a 30,
14 to the gallon. And the 8 single digits is not friendly, no matter how big your tank is. Think about how much you get to spend every time you're at the
That's
pump.
fair. So
Every time.
ugh.
13. 13 is what they're
Sounds
claiming.
Okay.
absolutely.
Here's what I have to say about those trucks.
That's a
because
stretch.
I got to get it out there. I think that I like the styling of those, but I really like them as two-wheel drives. I love two-door Tahoes,
Yeah.
and I love the single-cab short bed trucks of all of that era from 88 to the end of that. I think they're great. When you strip them down and put an awesome motor in it and put it on air ride and put wheels on it, great. I think they're awesome. I see no value in them beyond that at all. I
You
just
can work on it. In
don't.
Your, yep.
Sure,
Yeah,
great.
that's fair.
I love it, Mike.
Well, Jesse loves it,
Jesse
and
I are
that's
friends. Yeah.
that's probably because Jesse's number 4 is the same thing, but a Suburban.
No, my number 4 is different.
Okay.
We'll get to my later date where you guys can hate on me. So, my number 4 is an XJ.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we just
there we
move
go.
right on.
Yeah. So
Yep, we don't have to debate that.
we don't
one
have to
again.
debate it. Yeah.
The only thing I did want to add to Mike's point, to the XJ point and the overlanding thing, is that being in remote areas, if you break down, you want parts that you can get easily. And
Like on a Tahoe?
XJ, you can get any part in any podunk town in America.
Yeah.
That's why XJ is number 4 for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
But it has to be the 4-liter. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you buy anything less than that, you're just dumb. So
Yeah.
So my TJ originally had a 2.5, and I'll point out that if you get the 2.5 low output, they are
you can
just
blow
a
it up
4
and put it
liter.
out less in it.
No, it's a 4 liter with the front tube cut off. Like it's literally exactly the same motor. So same timing set, same pistons, same rods, same everything. So
Yeah, but
no,
they're
it's
also
inline. The fourth cylinder was inline. Yeah,
But not a V4.
literally- Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was-
exactly the same.
it's not a Subaru.
So the 2.5 is not a bad 2.5 is not a bad motor in that sense because you can get the same parts. It just has no guts.
It has
And
it has
doesn't
no
get better.
guts,
It gets the same
and it gets the
mileage.
same mileage. Yeah, that's the problem. No power,
Not great.
same mileage.
But it's reliable. Yeah, yeah. They're still reliable. Is all I'm saying. It could be worse.
All right. Well, we already beat the XJ
Yeah,
horse.
let's go, Sean. Number 4.
Please.
Oh, you're gonna hate
What's
this one
next
too.
Fucking horrible thing.
Wow.
we have?
Yeah.
So my next
Can't wait.
horrible
He's
decision
gonna put a Subaru on his
is
list, isn't he?
everybody sit down. No, it is the cheapest 3rd gen 4Runner you can find. Now,
Saw that coming.
before you say this, I did not come up with examples, and I'll tell you why. It's because you can find
It doesn't
many.
exist.
You can find many bad 3rd gen 4Runners, meaning over 300,000 miles, rusty, beat up, maybe wrecked, whatever, at that price point. But they're super reliable. That engine is going to still live past that mark. You can buy everything for them. They're a little small for your like 2 kids, 2 dogs scenario, but I think for most people, like the platonic family, I think they're okay
Yeah.
size wise. And I think they're awesome. Like, I think it's a great vehicle. It's fine mileage. It's good off-road. Like, I don't think there's any qualms with it beyond its price. So if you can find one in that price, I think it's a win no matter what. Like, it just is. It is not an XJ, but it is pretty damn good.
I will argue for your point. I did find 2 of them under $5,000, or right at $5,000. They were fine. They were beat up body wise, but they ran and drove. etc.
I don't want to put my chicken scratch up here, but I literally wrote bad 3rd gen 4Runner.
Good. I'm glad it's very specific. That's perfect.
Not because you could spend 10 and get one with like Bilstein 5100s and a supercharger, sure. Or you spend 5 and you just kind of, drive it. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, it's like Derek just got that. Well, his is a 2nd gen, right? Is that what?
Yeah,
Yeah. So his is a 2nd gen.
Derek.
It's got the 22R though. So
Yeah, that's better.
He got that, and I can't remember what he freaking told me, but he got it for well under $5,000, and he's just done a bunch of maintenance stuff to it now,
Yeah.
and so he's probably still under $5,000, and it's
They're
perfectly
those ones
good.
are way cheaper.
Right, but you got to
Yeah.
avoid
Yeah.
the 3-liter.
The 3-liter. Yep, exactly. And I think the 3rd gen is aesthetically more appealing,
Yes.
and then just a little more creature comforts.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like a luxury vehicle, but like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You
And
can
I
get some
had
shitty
one.
leather
I bought-
seats in it.
Yeah.
The interior was garbage in the one I had, but I got one for like $1,100, and it needed a head gasket, and then I sold it for $7,500 after I
Yeah.
fixed it and put spacer lift on it and some OK tires.
I mean-
so I get it. There's value there, but yeah, I drove it like for 3 weeks, and then I just left it at the house because I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't anything exciting.
They're not exciting, but they're great.
Yeah, I mean Tyson's got
they're-
one down at the shop that's for sale right now, and it's like perfectly mediocre, and it's right at that $5,000 price point. So it's definitely there. Like it's right. It is absolutely
Yeah.
worth the
20,000
list.
miles, cloth seats, and a rear locker.
You can find, I don't know if, I'm like 99% sure you can get 4-wheel drives with the 2RZ, the 2.7. which is also pretty cool. But the V6 is great. The 3.4 is a great engine. 3RZ, not 2RZ. Yeah. That's a good setup.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's a cool vehicle. They're wildly overpriced a lot of the time, but like if you buy it right, I think it could be done well. A Montero is 90% of the vehicle at 50% of the price. But I still think that 10% is nice.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll kick off number 3s. And this one I had a hard time with because I had 2 that I wanted to put on for number 3. But I think I lean ZJ over WJ. And I love the WJ, I love the ZJ, I like them both, but I think I put the ZJ above mostly because just get one. It doesn't matter what engine you get, they're all good. The 360, the 316, or the 6-cylinder, all good motors. But with the V8s, you are going to have the Quadra-Trac. So unfortunately, it's the all-wheel drive. But a transfer case swap in those is super easy, and you can just pull a transfer case out of every XJ that's been scrapped on the planet, and it just bolts right up. There's no problems there. Yeah. And the beauty of the V8s is, while it's not the best version of the axle, it has a Dana 44 rear axle. It's an aluminum housing one. I get that that's kind of a wishy-washy subject, but it is a Dana 44, so it's a little bit better, and you can also end up keeping the high pinion 30 front, whereas the WJ you only have the low pinion, and with a WJ you absolutely have to avoid the V8s because the V8s are hot garbage. So that's why I put the ZJ on there for 3.
But are they as bad as a Cayenne V8?
Probably,
not even close.
Because they do head gaskets all the time. They're the Land Rover
it's just everything else
of V8s.
Yeah.
I will say the
like
ZJ was really close on my list. It was really hard not to put the ZJ on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I like about the WJ is the interior is nicer, and it feels like it has more space inside. I don't know if that's an actual true statement. Yeah,
the WJs they're slightly bigger. So yeah, if space is kind of a rub point, then you could lean that direction.
Yeah.
Also, the spare tire, instead of being in the cargo area, is under the floor in the WJs. So if you do a swing out, then you've got all that space under the floor to put some shit in. But I disagree with the interior. I think the ZJ interior is much better than the WJ. The WJ is they started getting to that point of the blandness of because Jeep went through that phase of here's just some bland ass shit and you're gonna like it, and everybody did. Everybody fucking bought the hell out of it, and it's just it's the same problem I have with Tahoes and things like that, is they're just so bland and boring. So the ZJ has a little bit of flavor to it. It just has a different feel.
Wood grain around the gauges. Yeah.
So
yeah. I dig it.
Yeah. All right, Mike, number 3.
Well, number 3 is the Nissan Frontier pickup. You can get 4-doors now in the $5,000 range. That it's a little beat up in the bed, or you find something with a front fender dented or whatever. You can get the generation before in the $4,500 range all the time. But I think it's kind of along the same lines of it's almost a Toyota Tacoma, but it's just not.
And it doesn't cost the price.
It just doesn't cost what it does.
You just buy the bad one.
You can get them. Yeah, and you're already going to start cutting for tires. You're already going to cut for bumpers and all that stuff, and you're going to rub it on stuff and not care. They've always been a truck that interested me, and I've never had one, which is weird. I've had most other things, but every time I see somebody out like overlanding in one of those, I'm like, man, they got tons of space. They seem pretty reliable. They seem to run pretty good. They do okay. So
I don't think they have a ton of space. But I mean, neither do the Tacomas of that year. They're pretty tight. But like, I get it. They're cool.
Roof rack from the factory.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the roof rack that stops.
Yeah, it's a half.
Because there's no more Xterra, basically.
Yeah. I will say the thing. So you can get manuals in those pretty easily. Like, they're a lot more common than Tacomas having a manual.
Supercharged too.
There's supercharged versions.
Yep.
But the issue that you'll run into is the ones with the lockers are going to be way more expensive, and the locker is a completely different axle. It is not the same axle. You get a much weaker axle if you don't have the locker
So you can't
axle.
swap.
So it's not even like you can just put a diff in. You have to get the whole axle. But the beauty of those, at least the late ones like you just showed, not the first gens like Tyson's Xterra, those you can do Titan swaps in, and it's just
that's what I was about to
bolts
say.
all in. You can literally take the rear axle, the whole front suspension, the whole thing, like the diff, the arms, the coils, everything, and it just unbolts and bolts back in, and it's so much stronger and has more travel. So yes, I absolutely I think the 5,000 range is tough for those, like kind of like Sean's Forerunner. You're gonna buy a bad one. But
bad Frontier.
For most of these, my rule was if I can't find 3 of them at that price, then I don't count it, because that's like you'll see a couple of them. Yeah,
I saw one time.
Yeah, it was on the internet in 2001, and
don't care.
No, so but I've seen enough of them out doing stuff and videos or whatever, and it just seems like everybody who has one is content. None of them are like the ones that are broken down.
I don't think it's a
weird
bad
stuff. They're
choice
also
by
not
any
taking the hard
means.
line anywhere. But yeah,
they're a perfectly
that's
mediocre
my
truck.
Number 3.
Yeah.
That's right. Right on number 3.
Yeah. Then you don't feel bad about bumping shit.
Exactly.
All right, Jesse, what do you got?
All right, that's you, Jesse.
Well, I guess I'll say my number 3, which I think
Also an XJ.
Everybody's gonna hate, but I'm gonna show my absolute bias.
Oh boy!
But
Is it gonna be a Cayenne?
Nope. My number 3 is a square body.
Oh, jeez.
I don't hate that.
Hey.
Hold on.
I'm gonna make the same argument I made
That is a wide
for the Tahoe. Is have fun filling
That's
up
a wide variety.
every 20 miles.
So that is the great thing about a square body.
That is 73 to 88.
Yes, you have an enormous
No specificity.
amount of
87.
range.
87, sorry. Oh, wait. No,
it's a
Suburban.
91.
Suburban,
91
91.
Blazer.
Yeah.
91, yeah. So your year range is incredible. And you can buy from 74 to 91 under $5,000.
And the best part is they're almost all the same.
They are almost all the same. Parts, you could find parts to replace something in Fields, Oregon.
By the
Easily.
time they're for sale, people have already traded like 4 or 5 body panels with each other. So
Yeah. The amount of different body styles, I did lump square body into one.
Oh, that's fair.
I thought it was fair because
So did all of us.
you can find a square body that fits your lifestyle. So if you've got a massive family with 2 giant shithounds, you could have a Suburban. If you've got just you and
You could have a Suburban.
you could get you could get a single cab short bed.
Sure.
You can get one
Or the Blazer.
You can do cheap ass lifts. I mean,
Yep.
I lifted the Suburban 2 inches and put 40s on it for less than 400. Well, it was like $425. for the
Just less than 400. Just less.
I almost said less than 400, but then realized it's 400.
You said it out loud. You said
I
the
said
whole thing.
almost less than 400, but then wait, redacted that. So
Cut that out.
yeah, cut that. Cheap lifts. You can get the 4-speed manual SM465 with the 205 transfer case. You can put a doubler on it with front dig. So if you really want to go redneck and get really off-road with it, it's super easy to get to it. The downside, which is also a little bit of an upside, is those damn 350s. They get like 10 miles to the gallon.
Yeah. Bring fuel.
But you bring fuel, but you don't have to bring parts. Because you could probably dig one out of the sand.
Yeah, wherever you are.
Wherever you are. Because the chances are somebody else dropped the part there too. So that's why Square Bodies makes it at my number 3. Just the versatility, reliability, and parts are plenty.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the parts thing there, and they're super cool, right? Like, we were just on Instagram before this. I don't know if all of you saw it, but Morgan posted this really cool one.
Yeah.
Total street truck, nothing that crazy. Like, it's really nothing, but like, it's such a good looking truck. Like, for me, for my childhood,
flat
and
green.
we've talked about how redneck and trash that is that I have in me, my childhood. But anyways,
Trash.
very much garbage. The square body Chevy is like the pinnacle of automotive design for me. So I get it. I think it's great. I think there are a lot of flaws, but I think it's a
There are
good
lot of
choice.
flaws, but, I mean,
See,
if you're looking for
look at
a
that.
cheap way
That's
to
this
do
one. I sent this to Jesse
Yeah.
because he had the same. This is just up the street from me, and he's got the chain on the front bumper, just like Jesse.
Gotta have a chain.
Gotta have a chain, man. Hey, a
part of
drag
the
Tyson's
club.
XJ.
Oh God.
Tyson's XJ with 2 broken diffs. Just all right. Well, screw it. We'll go 35 and blow
God.
through the ring and pinion.
I felt so bad watching that happen. It was like, stop, boom, pop. Oh.
Now it's gonna pull smooth.
No, it did not pull smooth. We had to
Oh.
go 35 so we could just keep breaking the pieces. So if
Mow
we went
teeth
less,
off of it.
it'd just start dragging. But hey, the square body yanked it. Oh, and
Yeah.
the other thing for the square body is it's a super easy LS swap.
True.
So
Or
there's my
anything.
number
you-
3. Or
You too could have power steering fluid all over your driveway.
You,
Oh, that's not exclusive to the square body. That's an idiot problem.
Speaking of idiots, what's your number 3, Sean?
yeah. What is
Speaking of idiots, number 3.
3.
Sorry.
There you go. Hey.
is I'm going to take Jesse's stance. Montero
Oh,
Which one?
just in general,
across the
huh?
board.
just across the board?
I actually thought about starting with the 3rd gen Montero just because they're weird and cheap, but pretty cool. But I think that what Colin had was the 2.5.
Blister fender.
That's
yeah.
the one. Like, that's the one you want. Yeah. It's the coolest looking. It's got the coolest everything. There is literally nothing about it that's not cooler than the rest of them. It's a perfect size. It's a perfect platform. It's got a fine engine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. They're just great. Like, it is... Sorry to blow up the spot on Monteros on the podcast because like 35 people are going to hear this. But it is the
Montero
best...
35 people?
It is the best thing to spend your money on. I know that's number 3 on my list, but it's still the best thing to spend your money on. I have preferences that are not the Montero, but it's the best.
Yeah.
Like, let's just move right along because that's it.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we get to have bias in this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the
It's
square
all
body made
personal
everybody.
bias. It's opinion.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Mike put his bias at number 5.
weird, right?
Cherokees are just barely the thing I've had the most of. All right.
Okay, so funny, Sean, because
All right, what do you got, Colin? Cayenne?
I put for my number 2 Gen 3 Montero. So specific again, very specific. Gen 3s because
I missed that.
what?
Gen 3 Montero.
Gen 3 Montero is my number 2. So
Yep.
Got it.
They are fully independent suspension, but most of the overland crowd isn't going to care about that. There's already guys that have figured out that there are full bypass kings that you can put on them. There are multiple spring manufacturers for them as well. There is even a goose gear kit for the like little flat floor with all the pockets in it and shit like that. That was the one that had the 3.8, so that was the biggest that motor got, and it had the most power. The earlier ones had a limited slip rear diff. They also had 490s for gears stock, so you're not going to have a problem with running bigger tires. It's not going to affect you that much, which is great. They are a little funky looking. I kind of like it. That was the car that
I like 'em.
That was the car that won a ton of Dakar championships. Actually, was the short version of those that we never got, but they're very comfortable inside. They're a lot bigger inside than you think, and like the Gen 2s, the seats fold completely flat.
That's what she said.
So, as in, they fold flat into a bed where you can actually sit on, the seat portion, not like they fold flat to make cargo space. They do that also, but yeah, that's also their first version of traction control was in those too, and it's apparently pretty darn decent. I've seen a couple of guys that run them, lifting wheels and stuff like that, of course, because it's fully independent. And it just kind of chugs away. It figures it out and goes. And they're tough enough to do the Rubicon. I've seen multiple of them do the Rubicon on 33s with lockers, because you can get lockers for them. That's not a problem either. It's a pretty... If you want something that's cheap and pretty plush inside, and has the Toyota reliability without the Toyota cost, that's a Gen 3 is actually a lot better than people think it is.
I mean, it's part of my list.
Yeah.
I'm in. I like them.
Yeah. I
I
like
would
that
have
the
put it
three
on
of
my
us
list,
now
but I
have
assumed it was going to be
Montero.
on Colin's list. So
All right. What Montero did you pick next, Mike?
Never. Sorry, no, not against them, but I just knew it was already going to get picked.
Oh,
My number 2.
if I would have gone on that rule.
Well, I know. My number 2.
Oh, Jesus. Here comes the computer.
This is where I skipped. You know how I told you I found 3 of them to make it count, whatever? I skipped that completely.
Got it.
And I found
Cheated.
one,
Broke the rule.
one
your
option. No, hold on. You're going to love this. I found one
Are we, though?
1980 Chevy short box 454 on 42s.
Okay, so it's a square body Chevy.
No, it's not.
No.
Oh,
no,
it's a.
no,
Oh, sorry.
It's
It's
an
newer.
OBS.
It's the same
It's
thing
the
as
same
the Tahoe.
thing as the Tahoe. Yeah.
But
What?
it's on 42.
All right, move it on. Move it on. Move it on.
So here's the thing.
Tahoe.
What do you mean?
times
Here's the
2.
thing. It's the same
Here's what I wanna
thing.
bring up with this. No,
You did this. You
I'm not
wasted a
talking-
spot.
okay, so-
You literally wasted a spot on your list with the
I'm doing
same
something
vehicle.
Well, let me tell you what I'm talking about. So what I want to bring up with this is somebody else's project. So it doesn't have to be a Chevy. It doesn't have to be a Ford. It doesn't have to be a Jeep. What I'm talking about with this is somebody else's project that is just barely running and driving. It needs X, Y, and Z. It's got broken this. It's got broken that. But it's got tons. It's on 42s. It's a 454. Not specifically this. You find somebody else's project that has got good bones, and it's we
So
found
your
a bunch
number
of
2
Forerunners that are already solid axle swaps.
So your number
Is
2
by
is
somebody's abandoned
is a
project.
cop out. Yeah, it's a total cop out by someone's abandoned project. Wow.
I think it's important.
Now,
Wow.
I think that's
I want to say
that,
this
There's a
before
lot of that though.
we
And
go
I-
too far. I want to say it is almost always a terrible idea to buy someone's aborted project. I just want to make sure that's real clear.
But it's my number 2, and I would do
But
it.
Mike suggests it.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah,
Mike
I
would
do
do
it.
that.
Number 2.
Yeah.
You could have picked. You could
Yeah.
have picked, Mike, that brick nose 4-door Ford.
Oh, God, if we were picking
Exactly.
specifics.
You could have picked that one over the Chevy and not wasted your.
For the listeners,
That one's over 4,000.
they are talking about a.
Or over 5,000, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
way over.
perfect.
Sorry.
They're talking about a late 80s Ford truck that's on some sort of shortened frame with. I don't even know exactly what's going on. It's got an IDI diesel in it. It's got a doubler in it. It's got 42-inch Michelin military tires. It's
turbo kit.
crazy. And it's also the same
it's not
price as that
$5,000.
pile of garbage that Mike just showed
No,
us.
it's not. It's
It
more.
was not.
Hot pile of garbage.
It's more than that.
No, it's more expensive than that.
They're both
Yeah.
under $5,000. Who cares? The
wasn't
whole
under $5,000.
budget is that.
It's not under 5.
I would have picked it. It wasn't under 5.
It's not?
Yeah,
No,
it's not under
that's-
5
it's
grand. No.
5,500
Yeah.
bucks.
Oh.
Which is
would've
low
figured it
because it
was.
started way
Okay.
higher than that. It started way higher than that.
Well, shout,
But also,
Sorry, Mike.
Sean, it's
I think
actually an
there's a lot to be
80s
said about.
Ford, but it's got a 70s. It's got a bullnose front clip on it. So it had the IDI.
Yep.
It's a factory IDI, and he's got a bank stroke
Factory
on it.
IDI.
And then yeah. So yeah. Sorry.
It's also hot garbage, by the way.
If you if you do your research right, you know you want a project and you plan about it, you can get somebody else's good parts in a good rig. And
Or you could buy a Montero.
Yeah. Any of the other options we've
well, it
mentioned here.
Ah, that's it.
Yeah,
5,800 bucks.
58.
Zoom in on
See?
that sucker.
See?
it was over 5 grand.
Yeah.
It's close, but you know what? Still, it's. So Mike's number 2 is buying a pile of hot.
Yeah, which
Jesse.
which again breaks the rule of that I was thinking of, which was you can go buy it and you're going to enjoy buying it and you're just going to go out and use it right now, right here and now. Not a
You don't have to
you
fix
don't
it.
have to deal with a bunch of bullshit. It's like the price range is
Hold on.
going to get you
How
out.
many head gaskets have we talked about replacing on this show already?
How many head gaskets did I do
least
in my
2.
Land Rover? None.
I'm
None.
just saying that's the part. People are like, "Oh, you can buy it under 5 grand with a blown head gasket." You bet.
You can buy it under 5 grand
okay.
with the head gaskets freshly done.
Yeah,
So
I'm just saying that Chevy on 42 says it ran drove. You can drive it home. It just wouldn't be fun.
It just wouldn't be fun. Well,
There's a lot of that because I enjoy buying somebody else's project that's pretty good and needs some work. And I think that oftentimes I'll buy a broken thing so that I can get it for cheaper and have a better thing because I'm willing to work on it.
it does work sometimes if you're very mechanically inclined, you have the right connections, and you're smart about what you buy. But overall, sometimes buying an
not
aborted
any of those
project means don't short yourself, Mike. Sometimes buying an aborted project means you're buying somebody else's trouble, like their disaster.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, what kind of pile of shit did you
Go
pick
ahead,
for
Jesse.
number 2?
Third gen.
Jesse?
Third gen.
wow. Okay.
Chevy on 43.
There you go.
So the third gen Forerunner, and it says it right here. It says with concessions, you can get the third gen Forerunner as long as you make some concessions on it. It's going to have some high mileage.
Yep.
You can get the rear locker, but it's going to have
Maybe.
garbage ass seats in it.
Oh, definitely.
But-
No matter what, you spend 10 grand, they're bad.
The driver's
rusted
seat
frame.
the driver's seat is gonna have a fucking hole in it, so you're gonna put a pillow and a seat cover on it.
It's gonna be great.
Get the memory foam one that just conforms to whatever
Right to your
size
butt.
ass you have,
Yep.
and it's gonna be great. And you're gonna drive it away, and you're gonna have fun.
I
And you're
God,
gonna
Jesse's so smart.
Are going to mostly be attached.
can't get on board with
It makes so
with
much
your
sense.
guys' concepts here. Like the stuff that I'm picking is stuff that is like literally it's going to be great from the minute you're in there. It's not going to be terrible. Like
So is the 3rd gen 4Runner.
no.
Yeah, it's
Well, first off, Sean, there is no Toyota that is early that is not terrible because you get to sit on the fucking floor. You may as well tear that torn up seat out and sit on the damn floor because that's basically what you're doing anyway. So no.
I don't mind that.
I prefer a comfortable
I'm with
seating
Colin on this.
position.
I fucking hate that.
Thank you.
It reminds me
That
of
is the
sitting in a
worst.
camping chair.
No,
Oh God, I
Well,
even in
hate
my, even in my new Tacoma that I had for a while, the primary reason we were willing to sell it was because even that,
Yeah,
you're just,
even those
your feet
seats
are
are
straight
bad.
out in front of
Yeah,
you, and you're like, "What are you doing? Why can't I sit in this car? Why do I have to lay?"
It doesn't bother me, but I have an early 90s Toyota
Well,
that does not
the
sit
Land
like that, by
the
the
Land
way.
Cruisers were different. The Land Cruisers sat correctly.
Sure. Well, that takes me to my second choice,
No.
which is
Yeah.
an XJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that's a better value than a Montero is a Jeep Cherokee from whatever in the 80s to like the late 90s. I really don't know the actual years. It's like 86.
No, you don't want an 86. So they
I'm
made
just
them before
I'm just saying
86.
they made that.
Up to the early 90s.
86 had a V6 that was garbage. So go 87 and newer, or go pre-86 because only in 86 did they have this garbage.
What is the actual range for the XJ? Oh, you're gonna Google it.
No, I think it's like 82, but I'm gonna
No,
Google it.
really?
It's super freaking early. It's way earlier than you think.
I was gonna
And
say
they went-
92 to 93.
They went to
something
like
that.
01.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 01. I don't
Yeah.
think there's an 02 XJ.
They went to 01. Man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That late.
it's just
I
like
love
Super
that
Fun, where they
late
have that
body
massive-
style.
83.
83.
83
I
to
thought it was
01.
82. It's 83. 83 to 2001.
I
basically all the same.
And those
pretty close.
Yeah, pretty
The
close.
interior changes in the later
and the
ones.
exterior changed a little bit too.
Yeah.
Grill,
a little bit.
grill,
little
and
bit.
like the body got smoothed a little bit.
Mechanically,
I
but the
love
parts
those
that
later
would break,
ones.
the
Some
brake that you need.
Yeah.
oh, they're all the
are
same.
all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 3 versions of the 4-liter to keep this conversation going, right? But like
But the parts are
ultimately, most everything's interchangeable. They got a little bit better looking or worse looking, depending on
who
your
you are,
opinion
yeah.
as you go on. I love the 97 and up. I think that's the facelift
Yep.
ones. Shout out to
color?
Dave. Our buddy Dave has the cleanest, best one around.
White one.
He drives the hell out of it. He's an excellent driver, and they're just so awesome. Like, he is the epitome of put 33s on it, lift it a little bit, drive the hell out of it. And that, to me, like, is the $5,000 budget rig almost to a T. Like, if Montero isn't perfect, XJ's one step closer for sure.
Yeah.
More reliable, maybe a little smaller.
I don't know if I'd say
maybe more
reliable,
off-road capable, though.
but I don't know if I don't know if I do that
96,
either.
97, 98.
I mean, like those. So
Oh,
those.
definitely more off-road capable.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
like
Solid axle coil
The
spring,
solid-
done.
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll give you that one little edge, but the Montero is built tougher than the XJ is, 100% in every way. The best
It might be.
Go look at Tyson.
the best
Just go
axle.
Look at Tyson.
The best axle that was factory
many
was the early
trees are you gonna hit
44,
before-
or those late ones. You could get some of them had the Chrysler 8 1/4, which,
Yeah.
you know, it's so.
It's fine.
That's plenty
The
fine. Yeah.
Monteros have a Ford 9-inch with a 9.5-inch ring gear, so they are at least as good as your axles, Sean. They are better than a 44. They are tough trucks like those, and they're coils with a radius arm in the back rather than a leaf spring. So the back flexes a ton. I get it that it's torsion bar front, so it's not as great in the front, but if you're comfortable lifting a wheel,
I'm gonna jump in here. You drive with both axles, no matter what you want to do.
yeah.
So even if your back flexes a ton, you have both of them. So the front in an XJ will do this also. So even if it only goes 6 inches of travel or whatever different than in the front than Montero, that XJ is way more overall flex through the whole suspension,
Sure.
front and rear axles.
Sure, but a Montero's still
So
better.
you're saying if we had an XJ with the Montero's rear end, we'd have a clear number one.
Sean is
Yeah, you're
muted.
muted, Sean.
God damn. We're not to number one yet, I said.
I know.
So
Yep.
there could be a better option, is all I'm saying,
could
that
be a
might
better
have
option.
all of the above. Or not.
I knew
It's not a turret.
that I picked
That's for
Sean's.
fucking
I knew that I picked Sean's number one correctly. I know what it is.
Oh, of
I know
course
what
you
yours
did.
is. So
There's no way you would not.
so
All right, Colin.
So,
oh, wait.
what?
I assume Sean's number one can't be bought for $5,000.
It can.
So
It can.
It
It's
Colin
not,
is
it's
Colin
not,
is going
it's not
to
the
talk about the
perfect
next
version,
thing.
once again. But
That's
yes,
right.
it
It's
can.
not.
It is not the perfect one.
All right,
So
Colin. Why don't you tell everybody the premise of the next part of
okay.
this?
So the next part of this is we were all tasked with guessing what each other's number one pick was. So I already pretty sure I know what Sean's in. So why don't you three guess what my number one was, and then I will reveal my number one, and then we'll just do the rest of us that way. Okay, that says
All
Colin.
right, let's see.
Calls number one.
Monty,
Second gen
second
Montero,
gen.
but you already picked. Oh, because you got specific on it.
Yeah, I got
my
a
list
little
has been very
but
specific, yeah.
I guess I got Colin as a second gen Monty. I didn't get that correct because you did the Monty Sport and the third gen.
But he
right?
didn't
He
do
hasn't said the second
what
yet.
you're
No.
saying.
He's the 2.5. I agree. You're right. Second gen Montero.
Shit.
Shit.
I'm with
Okay,
Jesse
what
there.
did Sean?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you 2.5 Montero 2.5, which is
Well,
that weird
that's
in
what I
between.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's what you guys both mean, I'm sure.
yeah.
But
Well,
Yeah.
so
the one he had
yes.
specifically.
So Gen
Yeah.
2 or 2.5. 2.5 is preferred. We've gone over a lot of it. I'll cap it off with the one downside that we haven't covered yet. The low range in them kinda sucks. There are gear kits that you can do, or even better, you can take your buddy's crappy XJ and pull the tail housing off of the automatic and then run Jeep transfer cases. And in fact, with that, you can run a doubler and a Jeep transfer case, and it's still shorter than the factory transfer case in a Montero. So, pretty cool. They're very easy to kind of pick pieces together and put it together. Wagoneer front axles are super easy solid axle front swaps for those because it's the perfect width. It's exactly the same width as what the rear axle is. Yeah, but we've gone over why they're so good. It's basically pick which one you like better, the one with the flares or the blister fenders, and just get it. And if you get one that doesn't have flares or blister fenders, you've got the worst one, but you can get those ones in a manual if you are so inclined. You really want a manual, you can get that one in a manual, and then just scab it together with some other pile of crap Monteros so that you've got the best of both worlds.
there you go.
All right.
So wait, that was your number one. I just want to.
Yeah.
That was your number
Yep.
one.
Yeah, we guessed it.
Oh, so let me guess Mike's number one really quick. That is
Wait, I might have misunderstood things. Sorry.
What would you have
do
misunderstood?
you need more?
I thought we still had one more vehicle to
Yeah.
reveal.
Yeah.
Number
yeah,
one.
yours.
Yeah.
We're guessing what each
Which we're going to
person's
reveal.
first is, and then you reveal if we got it right. So now we're going to guess
So
what
Jesse, you
Mike's
did everything
number
right and you
one.
didn't know it.
So what did you pick for Mike's
I wanna-
number one?
All right, Jesse. Now,
Well,
that was obviously wrong.
that was obviously wrong very early on.
really-
That was what
You
I
know,
picked for Mike's number one.
you
Also,
coulda-
though. I 100%
You coulda
had Mike's
changed-
number
Mike's number one.
You could have changed your answer if you would have not written it down.
No, I don't want to
Wow.
change my answer.
Don't you know the first thing about cheating?
There we go. Yeah. See, once again,
knows what my number one
Sean
is.
always first to cheat on this stuff.
Shady.
God.
Yeah, like
Fucking
this is
shady
the
ass son of a
easiest
bitch.
cheat there's ever
We're gonna
been.
go
Why
on
would I-
3.
why would I
One,
write it
Sean's going. Yeah. Sean's a Sean's
pro
a
tree.
cheater.
That was a pro tree. All right. Well, Mike's is definitely a full-size Ford of some kind. Whatever Dave Chappelle's building currently is what Mike wants.
Yeah, I wanted it before, but yes. Yeah, there's an '08 Gasser Super Duty 4-door. It's beat up. It's $3,800.
It happens
It's
to be
already on
red.
tons. Nope, it's white. I'll pull it up if you want. It's already on tons. You cut shit, you put 40s on it, and you're
It
done.
is a 1-ton.
It's the thing that your wontons got wonton from.
God, it's ugly.
God, the worst front end.
So ugly.
Those
I
are the
know.
worst.
Doesn't
What-
matter. We're not
what-
talking about the best
Yes, it
looking
does.
vehicles
No,
here.
no, we are definitely not.
We have talked about this so like
What?
Yeah.
it is. If you hate looking
know.
at the vehicle that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
driving, why do you fucking own
I
it?
don't.
That is
don't. I don't hate it.
terrible.
And that's fine.
Enjoy
super fine.
what
That's
like
super
you
fine.
have to like what it looks like.
I will
don't hate
say
it.
to Mike, like, I agree. I get it. I understand the underpinnings are solid. We had this conversation on the internet, aside from the podcast earlier. I think a 6.2 engine equipped F250 probably, because you're not going to find it a 350, but if you do, great. I think that's a good
That's a
option.
350 right there. That '08 is a 350.
Is it a
it's
6.2 or is it a V10?
I don't know. It's a gas.
It's a 5.4. Spoiler alert. It's even worse.
God.
Who
But-
cares? We've already talked about LS swapping rigs. It already
Oh,
it
but
currently
why?
runs and drives. It currently
There's
runs
so
and
many
drives.
better
You run and
options
drive
to
until you
put a
don't-
freaking LS in than that ugly pile of garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bad.
You
You've
could
already
go.
talked
You
about
could
motor
go
swaps,
earlier.
so we'll
Like
leave
go
that.
the earlier ones that are still leaf sprung, that has a blown up 5.4
Yeah,
or
but,
some
but
shit.
they're leaf sprung.
Well, you want to
but those
05 it
leaves,
up.
but leaf springs are so
05
simple,
has
Sean.
the same front end.
Yeah, they are, but like
you have way less turning radius.
the coils are better for sure.
Sure, but you're
and
but you're gonna
there's a
spend
ton-
way more money making it do the things that you want it to do than just buying a set of leaf springs for $400.
No.
And then you put the big leaf springs from the
coil
really
springs-
late ones in the back, because all you have to do is get new. It's just like a hanger conversion, and you can run their they're like 67-inch leafs.
The reverse hanger
Yeah,
thing.
and it's you can put
gonna
67s in
disagree
it.
with you.
It's huge.
That's
The
insane.
rear, fine, but I'm going to disagree with you on the front end because you want an 05 and up. The radius arm kit, you can 4-link them with a kit so easy, and it triangulates and all kinds of stuff.
You know who did that?
And it's Dave Chappelle. Yeah, you've already talked about swapping transfer cases
So much
and
money.
rear tail housings on a transmission.
You know
And
how
as soon as I
cheap
thought
that
about
is? It's like $20. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
That does not. That doesn't. That these are not the same thing. And
It's so much. You can do none of those things because without cutting fenders, you can fit 35s. You can just cut the fenders and put 40s on them, and you don't have to lift them at all. Running the stock suspension with a coil sprung front, you have way better turning radius than with the leaf springs by a just metric shit ton.
it's a giant
It's
truck.
a
The
better
turning
I do
radius
wanna
is
say-
not going to be that much better.
Yeah. I do want to say
Believe me, as a
They
guy
are
who
better.
Had both. It is worlds apart.
they are
Take
better.
it from a
Worlds
guy.
apart.
Take it from a guy who has a Dana 60 out of a Ford 97 Ford with the leaf springs and 40s on it. I turn
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. How's your new truck turn?
Oh my god.
That's right.
Right?
Okay.
And
that's
anyway-
not fucking
That's
fair.
not the same as
Anyway.
what Mike picked, though either. So.
What I was gonna say is, I think
Right?
I like the idea. I fully support the idea. I'm very into it. But I've said this to Colin. I've said this to Jesse because he's got a Suburban, and I've never said it to Mike because it's never come up. But that's not, to me, the best overlanding rig. It's really, really, really big. Like,
Yeah.
it's just big. And maybe big is great because you need all the space. But again, if you're the atomic family,
talking-
2.5
we're talking
kids,
overlanding.
it's not that great. Like, that's a huge rig. So,
You need
whatever.
You need wide ass tires or
Yeah.
big ass tires to account for the weight. So
Yeah.
there are some. I get it. I agree with you. I like it, Mike. It's a good choice. It's ugly as fucking sin.
Great.
It's better than your number 2.
You need an 06, like 05, 06, right? Like, that's good.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Yeah, anything with radius arms and
The earlier
honestly-
front and radius arms and a 6.2
Yep.
or ideally a diesel. I know the 6 liter is terrible, but I'd
I
still
had
take
great
it.
luck with mine.
Don't get a.
I had
Yep.
great luck with mine and tons of
I
power.
wouldn't get a fixed
I'd
later.
still take it.
That's why you get the 04 because
I had
it
100,000
still is a
miles on mine.
7.3.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't begin to guess what Jesse has. I don't know. I think it's probably a Toyota.
Second. That's what I was going to say.
Subaru
It's
Crosstrek.
it's the second gen Toyota pickup.
I was thinking Toyota pickup, but I couldn't pin down a generation. that would
I
be
said,
what
I
a
put
third
second.
gen Hilux.
I would say second gen Forerunner. Second gen Forerunner.
All right.
That's what I'll guess.
Yeah.
I did not do a third gen pickup because I don't think you can get one for under $5,000.
You have a
that
third
you
gen
can
pickup.
drive. I know, but I don't think you can get one for $5,000 that you can drive away from a sale and
Good point.
be overlanding with it. So I didn't pick that.
I think you can.
But like
I
a
picked-
second gen Toyota pickup?
A second gen Toyota pickup.
Are you
I
ready
think you
to
can.
be?
Wait. Hold on. One more guess.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
LS swapped, or not swapped, LS powered Chevrolet of some kind.
Nope.
So post 2001. Nope.
Nissan
I don't know.
hardbody.
Those are my only
I
two
don't
guesses.
use anything swapped. I picked
Porsche
the-
Cayenne.
Lease a
I
new.
picked the WJ.
Oh, God.
I thought he was gonna lease a brand new Tacoma.
But hey, you got it. A non V8 WJ. I think they are classy as fuck from the outside. I love them to death. I think they're comfortable as shit with the leather seats. You
Those
just
seats are
sit
comfy.
back. Man, they are comfortable. I think that they all around.
God, they're ugly.
Oh, fuck you.
I hate them so much.
Just
All around.
I don't want to rain on your parade, but the leather seats are really hard to get in the 6-cylinder. Just so you're aware. Those are mostly the V8s.
Okay.
Yeah.
High trim package.
Makes sense.
Still, I love if your $5,000 WJ with the 4-liter in it, or the other. They came with another V6,
No.
right?
There was
I don't
only the
think so.
4-liter and
So it's
or
just
the
4-liter
shitty
and then the
4.7.
V8s. But if you just want a rig that you're gonna throw your gear in and go drive away, put a puck spacer in it. You can put 33s on it and go and do whatever the fuck you want to overlanding. It's lightweight enough. It has enough parts distributed throughout the world. You can get them. The fuel economy isn't great, but it's better than a square body. It's better than
That's for sure.
That's
it's
not
better
hard.
than a shit box. It's better than a shit box OBS Chevy or a Ford.
And it's only a little better than a Porsche
I
Cayenne.
think they're great rigs. I love them. And I've
And-
always
and
wanted
honestly-
a WJ, but my life has just never been able to accommodate one. I've got
If we're
too
willing
big
to
of
do
dogs. I've got too much of a family.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. But WJ is my number one.
I like
we're
I
willing to do-
I liked mine.
CJ.
Yeah.
I like mine. That was
I
Yeah.
think
it was good. I don't have any
I
problem.
think it's a good concession between luxury, reliability, and performance with aftermarket support.
Yeah.
Jesse, I think if we're willing to do transmission swaps or transfer case swaps or axle swaps or any of that, or head gaskets, you can swap the seats in your WJ if you want.
Okay, thank you.
You can get the leather.
I'll get the
Yeah.
the Shielman.
Shield man.
Oof.
I guarantee you there's enough broken
The
V8.
Schumans are going to cost you
That's
more
the
than
entire
car.
budget.
Exactly. One seat
Yeah.
costs the whole.
Actually, Aaron's
All the WJs with V8s broke down. They're in the freaking
they're in the wrecking
junkyard.
yard. Yeah.
You could just go strip.
Aaron's
yeah.
Aaron's son is actually driving one of the very few inline sixes with leather that I have ever come across. And I know this for a fact because I owned it for a minute. But yeah, those are totally great. Great transfer case because it's the select track one, so you can do 2-wheel drive, full time, so an all-wheel drive, and then there's 4 high and 4 low. So it's a great just good. You've got a setting for any situation you're in. It's super great. Which the Monteros also have the same type of transfer case, by the way.
And all you gotta do is swap the tail housing, and you can swap that transfer case out of the Montero to get rid of it.
Well,
it's got bad gearing and low range.
Yeah, if you want to get serious, like putting doublers on it, but you get to you got to put a doubler on one of them either way, or you can just put the gears in it just like everybody else does.
I think everybody should get doublers.
I would love to.
I didn't put the Jeep on my list, but it makes sense. It's a fancy XJ.
Yeah,
it's just like the next step.
Yeah, a little bigger. The reason the XJ didn't make my list is because I've always felt that they're just a hair too small. It just feels very small. And the same thing with Range Rover Classics. They're small. They're a lot smaller than you think they are. They're the same size as an XJ, Sean. Same size. If you get a long wheelbase, then they're a little bit longer than an XJ, but they're the same width and nothing changes except for your leg room in the back seat. That's the only thing that changes. Everything else is exactly the same. When I went and looked at one,
I'm curious about
before getting the Wagoneer, I just walking around it, I was like, wow, this is a lot smaller than I felt like these were. Of course, I had just gotten out of my Range Rover, which was quite large.
They are. So Range Rover Classic is 3 inches wider. They're wide, but they're short.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of angles. So where the XJ is square for your cargo space, the Range Rover goes like this on the back window, and you lose.
I'm sure it's way less cargo.
Cargo road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just feel like width-wise, it feels like the interior space feels similar to an 80 series.
No, it's still smaller than that. It's still absolutely smaller than
you're
than that.
probably right.
80 series? You mean Sean's guess?
Can't say that.
Well, I think we can.
Yeah, my guess for Sean is a shitty 80 series.
Oh. Hey.
Yeah. Shitty
what's my
so
guess?
the early ones that
Jesse's
don't have that don't have the lockers like Sean's and has the shitty engine.
That's right.
Yeah, and no center diff lock.
Early 80s series is my number one. Because
it's a big Subaru.
I just want to tell everybody I understand it's not it is not the quickest. It's not there's a lot of things it's not. But it is.
She's not a smart girl or strong or good at doing stuff.
It is potentially as or more reliable than everything else we've talked about. It will last for well over 300,000 miles with zero issue. It is heavy duty. And the reason it lasts so long is because of that, right? It doesn't have any it's got a smaller rear end. This has a Ford 9-inch base, blah, blah, blah. It's a Dana 44. Nope. It is Land Cruiser. It's Land Cruiser everywhere. That means big axles, big width. Everything is good. It's not huge like a Suburban. It's not tiny like a third-gen 4Runner. It gets terrible mileage, but it has a big fuel tank. It's pretty comfy. It is not technologically advanced anywhere. I just think it's great. I love mine. I love mine way more now that it has more power. If it had 1/3 of that power, it's not as great, but it's still pretty great. I think the size, the capability, all the underpinnings are fantastic. And yes, before anybody says it. It is significantly overpriced for what it is, but it's pretty easy to find a $4,000 early Land Cruiser 80 series. That means pre-93, so 91, 92. It's doable. I can do it right now. Like I found one. The only thing I actually found an example for was this. I found a 270,000 mile.
You had to check and make sure he was thinking straight on that.
Land Cruiser.
I was almost saying, because I did not.
Because I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I did not pick an FJ80 because I didn't think you could get one for under $5,000 unless it was half burned down and didn't have axles under it. Like, because they're so fucking overpriced.
So, Sean, do you think one of those would make it up a sand dune without the EXC power mode? Like,
I mean,
ECT, get it right.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And if you're comparing to all the other, so my list includes XJ, Montero, Bad 4Runner, and Touareg, and the only thing that would make it further is probably the Touareg. So
the XJ could do just fine.
That terrible Land Cruiser right there is $4,000. 91. It's not great. And is an XJ great? Yes. Is a Montero great? Yes. But I think the X factor is the Land Cruiser. I think that's the one. And on that bombshell, we should end the podcast. Bye.
Honestly, I just didn't think it was possible for under $4,000.
There's many.
I just can't imagine a Land Cruiser with less power than you used to have.
Yeah. I've driven in both of them, and it is significantly worse. But somehow it's fine after a little bit.
You just get used to not having anything.
I'm a guy in a...
I mean, it's not a power game. It's a momentum game.
I have a Jeep Wrangler with a 3.8 liter and 37, and I
and
think
like
that I could outrun
20
it.
more horsepower than I used to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. That looks like a CRV from where I'm sitting.
What's that cute little red
Right
toaster
there.
you have back there?
Yeah, that's my wife's appliance.
Man.
Another random one, thinking of ones that almost made it to the list. I almost put a YJ on there.
Ugh.
So I had
Yeah.
Too
that
small.
on mine too.
It's terrible for overlanding.
Yeah,
That's one of
there's
the
just
reasons.
no
Very small.
space.
Yeah.
What
That
you
was
can
the
get-
conceding factor.
yeah.
But I love a YJ. I love
So
that
great.
I love that everybody hates
So
them.
on that, I owned one. On that note, though,
fucking
I
great.
like in my like big list, like as I was just like writing out stuff to figure out like what I wanted to pick out. I put a sidekick on there because like it's small, but it's,
I did.
It's,
I had Grand Vitara.
it's slightly big enough. Like if you only had like just you or you and one person, just take the back seats out, and it's probably enough space. And then you just get some guy that just put tons on his Toyota and put the Toyota axles in it, and you're good. No worries.
Yeah.
I don't know how no Suzuki's made it onto my
Because they're all so small.
It's just too small. That's the only thing. Because
They are small.
I've always, for the whole time we've been overlanding, I've had at least a wife and 2 dogs.
At least a wife. Never more than one.
So with a wife and 2 dogs, and then now a little 4-year-old, there's no way any of the Suzukis I've ever had would ever work.
Yeah, it's tight.
I
So
couldn't even get all of us in there. We could, let alone bring a cooler.
before we end this, I think one of the things that I want to know is, on the spot, what is the worst vehicle that you could possibly pick for under $5,000? I'm going to start it with Jesse and then bring it back to myself.
Oh my god.
So, like, what was a consideration on your list that you went, oh my god, nope?
Well, I think all things on my list considered were.
Yeah, like a square body, maybe?
Oh, fuck off. So, no.
You could get a square body Suburban to meet every need you've ever had.
What is the worst thing you could buy? What somebody who wants to get into overlanding and thinks, oh, okay, what can I buy to do this? What is the one thing that I think that is the worst idea that pops in their mind? Be a Subaru.
Any
Don't
Subaru?
get a
Any?
fucking
Yeah.
Forester. Don't get a fucking Forester. Don't
All right.
get a fucking Outback.
Yeah, that was
Just you see these people like, oh yeah, I got my Forester and I'm gonna go do these off-roading trails. It's like, you just did a couple whoops. Like, that's nothing.
Yeah, my requirement
Once-
for my list was they had to have 4-wheel drive, low range,
Real 4-wheel
like
drive.
an actual like. And I
Yeah.
know that the early Subarus had a low range, but that is not the same. That's like me saying I should have got a early Audi and done that because that has locking differentials in it. You know, it's no. These are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a car.
So
Like
I think
a
my
Porsche?
final answer for
like
that
a
is
Cayenne?
any
Wait,
Subaru.
a car?
A what? I didn't understand what you were saying.
The Porsche, you said it's a car?
Are you talking about your house? Like a porch? I'm not getting it.
I'm in America. I say the way I want to. Tell you what. Lesson here, bud.
All right, bud. Tell me
You can
what.
have your Tiguans and your Tigres and your Tarwigs. But I ain't having it. So who else said a bad one?
You're next, I think, is what Sean was trying to say before you rudely interrupted him about your Tom Ray Turimas.
Your porches. So in my head, the worst option that would still be a viable option, right? You could say Miata. Obviously, Miata is always the answer, but in this case, it would not be the answer. But you see these guys that like build up those Kia, like early Kia Sportages, and then everybody who has one. So again, Derek McAllister, another nice, the guy we were talking about who had that second gen with the 22RE. He had a Kia before that he was like trying to do the same thing with, and thought this would be great, and then he was like, "Fuck this," and I think that's kind of the game. Everybody sees those early Kias and things like early Suzuki, Grand Vitara age stuff, and they think it's going to be the same, and it's just not. It's not as good. But I think that would be a bad choice.
It's true.
At least it's got a good motor.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to blow up on you. It's just the bad platform.
Yeah.
The Subaru is just a bad platform, bad motor, bad everything around.
Head gaskets are a maintenance item, like we talked about before.
I think that a lot of the engines that we've talked about are significantly worse than that. But
Yeah, your Touareg? Yeah, 100%.
4.2s are super reliable.
You're not on your
Yeah,
mic.
Does that one have the timing chains in the front or the back?
Oh no, they're in the back. But if you could, but it's a chain. Only the guides are a replacement part. The rest of it is not supposed to be replaced. I wrote a list, by the way, before we go too far, of the worst cars. In fact, I think I wrote a list.
So
of
you cheated
5.
again.
Yeah, it's my topic. I can cheat if I want to. All right, Colin. What's your list?
Yeah, Jesse might have stole my thunder with the Subaru. Honestly, I thought that I had one, and then I think
You want one of mine?
and I think Jesse stole mine.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm glad we got to it.
Well, I'm sorry. We could just beat that dead horse again. Don't buy a fucking Subaru. It's not an overland rig. It's not a camping rig. Don't buy...
There's our title. Don't buy a
Yeah.
Subaru.
That's one of my favorite things. You see these guys
What's Lauren's? What was
Crosstrek.
It's an Impreza. It's an Impreza.
It's a Crosstrek.
Yeah, but now it's a
It's an
Crosstrek because
Impreza.
all you did. That's all a Crosstrek
Nope,
is a
it's
lifted
not a
Impreza.
Hilux. Okay, it is an Impreza. That is
Whatever.
tall. It's a tall Impreza.
It says
It's a lifted
Crosstrek on the
Impreza,
damn
just like a
truck.
Crosstrek.
Doesn't have fender
Anyway.
flares.
Oh no, I've got one.
Not
Never
calling
mind.
what
I
it's
remembered
not.
what it was now. I just remembered what it was. Any
Subaru Impreza.
any Ford for the like Expedition or Explorer, anything like that from the late 80s to the mid, like late 90s, 2000s, any of that, like any of that, unless your plans are to freaking totally just ditch the engine and like say you want to get an Explorer, ditch the engine and long travel it to make it a freaking desert truck, I'm all in with you. I love that. But
Yeah.
and if you want to just like, I'm just going to get one to run for overlanding, don't. Terrible cars.
Yeah.
That's
Nope.
fair.
The only redeeming thing about that is the TTB. That's it.
And even then, only if
And
you
there was
build
like
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to build it with the Dana 50 axles that they specifically shortened down for those.
Yeah, you use
and
don't shorten
the other
them.
thing- the other redeeming
Use
quality-
the 50 housing and axles so that they're longer, so that you have more travel. Oh. Yeah,
Yeah. You
The rear axle is good. The rear axle is good.
yeah. Put it in your Jeep.
you
Put the
can
rear
get a
axle in your
50.
Jeep, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, but you can
Save
also get a
yourself some
5.0. You can get a 5.0 V8 version in the Explorers. That was the only other thing that was cool about them. You can get. They made an all-wheel drive V8 5.0 with. I think you could even get them in a manual transmission with like a T5.
No, not manuals. No.
I have to look. I think maybe you saw a bunch of people swapping them,
Yes.
but like the 5.0 is not a bad motor. That's a decent ripper.
Yeah. All 260 horsepower of it is fantastic.
Yeah,
They're awesome, though. They sound amazing. They're cool.
I know. I've had a couple of them. I like that.
Let's hear your shit list, Sean.
Oh, do you want the list or just the highlight? Just the one. My favorite.
No.
My number one.
It's only
worst
been an
pick-
hour and 45 minutes. Go through the whole thing.
My number one worst pick that we should end the podcast on is Touareg and Colin. Because not only is it the best thing you should get, it's the number one worst decision you could make.